everybody, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied hands, Quindy, disembodied beard, John, anybody else who wants to show up, and, sometimes my puppy. But good morning to you. Yes, here we are, Friday edition, meaning thank God. Thank God the weekend is almost here. This week took forever. And Kiki woke me up an hour and a half early this morning, having to go out. So, yay for that. Not yay. I shoved David. He's like, maybe I'll just get up. I'm like, if you were that chipper, you should have just gotten up and let her out. Right? But no, I went and got dressed up. And at that point, I was awake, and I took her out. And then he's like, I think I'm just going to get up. I'm like, yes. So at least he then proceeded to do their morning routine and take her out of the bedroom. So I managed finally to get snuck I think 20 minutes toward the end before my alarm actually went off. But it was still obnoxious. It took me forever to try to get back to sleep. My brain wanted to wake up and I was like, no, you don't. You don't, brain, you don't. It's one of those mornings. Grumpy Ann. My glasses are over on my desk. 1 second. So we ended up at 505 total books at the end of the month. Last night I checked my sales. So today I have to change the price on East of the Sun. So if you have held off buying the ebook version, you should get it now before I change the price, because then it's going to be more expensive. But yeah. So, and hopefully today will be a writing day, I think. I really would like to, I'm going to at least try to figure out how to put it up on other platforms today. The first is a good day to do that. It's before all the, the Patreon obligations start to weigh heavily upon me. So I think if there's going to be a good day to do it before Christmas, this is the day. Yeah, sorry you got frozen there, Twistedoma. Alrighty, let's see here. We need to do his eyeballs. I did want to touch the leather a little. I'm just looking, and I wanted to tackle his hair a little bit more. That's right, and maybe the boots. Alright, so let's see how these eyeballs turn out. Let's get our... Do I actually have my standard color that I tend to use? Actually, a good color to use is also, anything, weathered stone or polished bone. Any of these gray-brown... off-whites or near whites. This is technically a light brownish gray. And that's what you want for the whites of eyes, unless they are very tiny. If the eyes are super, super tiny, then you can go much closer to pure white. But it tends to be a very unnatural look when you use pure whites. So, hey, Jamarble. Hey, green users. So yeah, so we'll use this polished bone as a eyeball white color, if I can get it to come out of the bottle. But yeah, hopefully I can get my books up on other stores today. If I wasn't going to do it, I might as well have just left them in Kindle Unlimited, so... the nice thing about that is that once I do it, if I run another email promo, which I will eventually, there will be more people who can have access to it, which is nice. So it might actually start to pay for itself more at that point. As it is, only the one promo site really seems to pay for itself. Alright, I'm going to thin this just a little. I've got about 4 drops of it in there. I'm just going to put 1 drop of water. I want a pretty strong color for the whites of the eyes, so... Yep, I need the eyeballs. I want to tackle the hair a little bit more. I feel like some of it's a little gloopy. And I want to kind of touch the boots. I feel like the leather here is just a little bit... It's a very soft highlight, which is fine for suede. But I just want a little bit more definition because there's some nice wrinkles on the boots. I wish they would come out a little bit more. Yeah, I said yesterday we might end up going and transferring over and working on a different model at the second half of this stream, just because Angry Link won't have much left. Except for basing, and I need to actually think about that. We might think about it a little bit on stream here. He's one that you could cut off of his base pretty easily. As you can see, the cloak doesn't come down to touch. And right now he's on cobblestones, which, you know, is a nice dungeon thing, but if you really want him to be a wood elf, then you might want to rebase him to something more woodsy. I do have a couple of bases here that would work. Don't know where I stuffed my other Reaper bases, but I'm sure they're back there somewhere. But these are, of course, my favorite for a wide stance to mini, 74048. So we could think about it. Alrighty. Sure. Yes, eyeballs. Need a thin brush, so I'm going to be grabbing probably my Da Vinci Maestro 0. So even smaller and thinner than the 1. He doesn't really seem like a snow-based character to me, Pendrake. He's more in spring colors. I didn't do him in winter colors, really. If I was doing a winter wood elf, I would have painted him a different color. I tend to color code my wood elves depending on seasonality. He's definitely the spring color scheme I used to use, and the Illustrally is the fall color scheme. Alright, so let's try to do this. But yeah, I'd rather not batch paint basing. I always believe the basing should kind of go with the figure. It looks like I need to touch up his face a little bit too. All right. So, want to position your hand so that it is comfortable to hold the brush and paint the thing. His eyes are pretty tiny, so we'll see how this works. Because he's definitely glaring. He's definitely angry. Quindy gave him the correct name. But if his eyes are too tiny, then we'll have to make him looking to the side. So I can get that one tiny eyeball in there. Yeah, I don't like doing flowers, so gambit, too much work. You either use the, oh yeah, I did do a blorp on his face. I'll have to touch that up. You either, with flowers, you either have to use like the color-tipped static grass flocking stuff, which I never think looks great. Although it looks better than some stuff. But I just don't really like it, so I don't own it. Or you have to do your flowers by hand, which is just way too much work. So we turn this mini to the side so that we can comfortably get that other eyeball. Now I need to get his skin tone out and do a touch-up. Or a skin tone that is close enough. So let's see what I got. I don't know where my tan skin ran off to, which means I get to mix something. Yay. Oh, Kuro named him. You're right. It's good that it's a great Friday. That's excellent. I am hoping my Friday will also be great, other than the lack of sleep. My CrossFit last night was pretty good. I got to do rings. I always like to do rings. Ring pull-ups last night. I actually enjoy those. I feel like I'm working toward my goal of being able to do an actual pull-up. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of cobble together a skin tone. I can always make a skin tone with rich leather and some sort of red and then white. So I would use tanned for him, but I think this skin tone is actually a mix anyway, so there. All right, let's see how this looks. So I'm just throwing a drop of Runic Glow, a drop of magenta into 4 drops of rich leather, and then adding a drop of white to see what I've got. Hey, Lord Zyphurius, thanks for the resub with the Prime. 19 months, that's fantastic. Thank you. And that's more rosy than we started with. Although, actually, I'm going to grab a little bit more white. This is a very rosy skin tone right now. Because I added 2 drops of... Well, I added 1 of Runic Glow and 1 of magenta, but that's... Usually I go 4-to-1. That's not too different, though. I could probably use that as a shadow touch-up, and then I can transfer a little bit over here and put a little bit more rich leather in it and white, and I'd be good. Morning, David Weir. We're doing Angry Link's eyes, but I actually blorfed his face a bit, so I have to unblorf it. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I'm excited for this weekend because it's like a no relatives weekend. We got the relatives on my parents coming on the 8th and 9th. Then David's folks come in for Christmas. So I just had a little bit of, I obviously did a little bit of a blorf on like his nose under it and on the upper lip. So I'm just going to paint over that pale blorf that I blorfed. And now I need a highlight so I can bring that up. It's close enough. Again, you don't need to match the skin tone perfectly. When it comes to medium skin tones like this, most of them are very similar, and so it's not really going to show up as different. Like, I touched up the area under the nose and on the upper lip, and even though it's technically a pinker color than his skin, it's showing up just fine. So, oh really? Oh my god, it's real. It's real. Green users, like, the more mainstream D&D gets, the more I remember being a kid and my next door neighbor threatening to burn my books because his little brother was playing the game I was running. And I mean, I was a little kid. I was like maybe 10, 11. Like, I remember that because that was the level of hate that was leveled at D&D at that point. I lived through the You Are a Devil Worshipper time. And now I compare that to today, where Postal Service is going to have D&D stamps, and I could walk past the magazine rack at my local supermarket and have a D&D magazine on it. Like, how far have we come, folks? How far have we come? It only took us 4 decades. Oh, lordy. Yeah, I'll totally have to get some of those stamps, for sure. Happily, I bet they sell out. Oh, good, Inara! Oh, good. You know what? Feel like broccoli, and just thank your heavenly stars. Like, honest to God, I've been there. Not in your particular, like, Footly instance, but in my other stuff instance. Just feel terrible, but understand that, oh my God, thank God it's actually healing. Like, oh my God. Like, during that time, I was just like, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to move in case I queered it, right? It was just like, I didn't want to move in case I messed it up and made things not heal. Like, that was my mindset when I was, like, thinking that I might not ever heal Inara. So, huge finger hearts to you. The biggest finger hearts I could possibly stretch out and still have a heart. Yeah, Richard. Well, they probably actually owe royalties if they use the old art. That's the thing. That's the thing that happened with artists in like in the olden times. They actually got royalties for the use of their work. So I'm certain that like John Blanche and some of the others that old classic stuff, I'm sure that they would be owed royalties in their under their contract. But then as like Magic the Gathering, like after the first couple iterations of Magic, where Wizards, whoever owned Magic, Richard Garfield at that point, but Wizards of the Coast, where they realized how much money they were going to be paying out in royalties, they started just buying artwork outright so that they could use it ad infinitum. And D&D also had the same evolution, and there was a lot of evolution of fantasy art at that time where you could no longer get royalties. You could only sell your work. Oh, I actually use 2 stamps a month because my our gardener and our maid service. Or wait. Our gardener and somebody else. I do mail at least 2 things a month. But they still use checks, and so I still mail things. I think because we have a lot of immigrants out here, and until they, like, establish certain things, like, they find it hard to, like, they won't accept them, like, for credit card services, so essentially we end up giving them a check, and in a couple of cases mailing them a check once a month. So yeah, I know. Checks are like so. Oh, really? Excellent. Yeah, John Blanche. Well, thanks for that, because I'm a fan, Richard, because more time. Like, are you a patron? Can you drop the link to that in my Discord? Are you in my Discord, Richard? I think you are a patron, right? Oh, and I need to send somebody else a link to the Discord. Sorry. I think it was Slayer or somebody who dropped me an email. Things got totally away from me. Don't worry, I'll get to it. In fact, I'll put it on my to-dos right now. 1 second. Discord links to peeps. Come here, to-do list. Come here. I'll put that on for right after lunch. Discord links to peeps. There. Yeah, I mean, you can email me. Oh, right. You can just, you're one of my betas. You can just email me on my author site. Yeah. You can send it to author email. But I'm a big fan, so I would love to read that. I would love to read about his experience with GW back in the day. Because he was with them from forever, so. Yeah, at the end of the month, Slayer is always a push for me, because I've been, I have to get certain things out for the Patreon, and I also have to, like, collate my data from the writing stuff. Because it's really hard. Amazon makes it really hard to, like, add up past sales. Like, I have to go to their old royalties calculator to do it. Otherwise, they just give you, like, money that you got in various markets, but they won't actually count books for you. So I've just been, at the end of the month, the night before it clicks over, I've been going and grabbing that data. And it's stupid, because they're really good about giving you data, like, up to the end of the month, on the month. Like, it's very nice. It updates, like, pretty much real time. But then it's like they assume you don't want that data afterwards. I'm like, I want to count how many books I sold. What the bleep, Amazon? He just retired this year, yeah. You shouldn't have... well, in Texas, I would think it wouldn't be too bad, right, Twisted Alma, with property tax? Texas is usually very friendly. I mean, you don't have income tax. But maybe they make up for that in property taxes, now that I think about it. But I don't think they're certainly not as bad as some areas. So hopefully it'll be okay for you. It's nice to have the house paid off, though, isn't it? That's really great. Congratulations on that. If I didn't say it at the time you posted it first. I am a very love to be debt-free person, so I'm always, like, cheering on my friends who pay off things early. Yeah, cool, Richard. Send it to me somehow, and I'll buy a copy and boost his Amazon ranking. All right, so I'm mixed up. Gonna go back out here a bit. So my iterations of skin tones, I just honestly throw things together until I get something that's kind of a peachy tannish, like rosy skin color. And then I adjust it by just taking a little bit of it over and adding a little bit more rich leather, which is my foundational yellow. It's a yellow brown. It's a raw sienna. Then that shifts it more toward like what we were used to seeing in tan skin. And then I'll just add white to that for my highlights. So you just tune it, and you don't need to get, again, you don't need to get perfect. Remember also that besides looking a little bit darker, usually, some paints will shift darker as they dry, and you can usually tell by just watching the edge here. That's another reason I really like working on a well palette, is you can see the shift from wet to dry. But also, paints tend to look a little bit more saturated when they're wet. So you, even though it might seem a little bright, when you put it on the model, it's probably going to tone down nicely. So, yeah. Well, congratulations on the one, and hopefully, if you still got that second mortgage, hopefully you can hit it hard now and get it out of your life. Get that thing out of your life. Who needs that thing? Nobody. Nobody needs a second mortgage. Kiss it goodbye. I've very much used Dave Ramsey's Money Makeover book to pay off all my debt, and he is big about the debt snowball. So once you pay off one debt, take all that money and put it in toward the next debt, in addition to what you were paying on the next debt already, and it'll help you pay off everything faster. It worked for me, and I really, and I'm not the only one since this book is super popular. All right. But yeah, and it does, the other thing that he is all about being debt free, because otherwise so much of your income gets leveraged toward paying off things that you've already bought. And it always feels, I always save a lot more money. Like, there are times I use my credit card these days, like Christmas is sometimes I'll do big purchases on it sometimes. I'm going to take this opportunity to highlight the skin an extra layer up. Since I have the highlight, since I just built it. Yeah, the one really... Yeah, you used Dave Ramsey too? His system is, like, smart. He understands that humans need easy wins or we're not going to keep going. So that's really cool, Agent Marvel. That must be a good feeling. It was a good feeling for me when I was down to the last bit. It was Bridget, Kiki's breeder, actually. Again, my best friend Bridget, who turned me on to that. And it's a great audiobook. He narrates it himself. I go back and reread it every once in a while. It makes me excited to save money. Like, very few books are inspirational savings books, but Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover is one. But yeah, he's a good narrator, so he narrates his books well. Alright, and just did that extra highlight on the skin just to pop it up a little bit. Now we need to give him pupils. Now, the way he is holding a sword, I can actually make him looking this direction. So I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, I mean, it works. The reason he's popular is that it really works. Just got to stay focused. I'm going to use walnut for this because it's got really high coverage. When we need to make a small dot that is very high coverage that we don't want to redo, we want to use a high coverage paint. We need to have a paint that we can thin and still have it have good coverage. And of the dark browns, of the near blacks, walnut is that. I don't like to use pure black just because, same reason I don't like to use pure black for anything. It's a little too stark for my liking. Yeah, he just, his system is very simple. You pay off the smallest loan first, Twisted Oma. You don't pay attention to interest rates right away. You pay off the smallest loan first because it gives you that feeling of satisfaction to have completely destroyed a bill. And then you take that money that you used to pay every month and you put it into the next biggest loan. And then when you get to, like, if you have the end, if you have two equivalent roughly loans, then you go and you tackle the highest interest rate one first. But it depends also on how high disciplined you are, right? Because if you're a very disciplined person, maybe you get the same excitement of focusing on the highest interest loan first and paying it off. But usually humans like easy wins, and that's why he's like, pay off the smallest one first. It's going to make you feel good, like you made a real difference, and then you can refocus that money. Oh, working on the nativity, huh? All right, so we're going to get this walnut. I put a tiny bit of water in it. I didn't mix up very much because I didn't need a lot. That may come back to bite me because it's going to dry out faster. I'm going to pop this water in there, a little bit more water. I want to be able to do... It needs to be thin enough to come off the brush right away, but it needs to be thick enough to make a good dot. So, like, I have to be able to make that nice dark dot with it. And if I can do that, then I'm good. So I'll test it on my palette a lot of the time. So again, I exhale when I'm doing detail. This eye's really hard, and I blurfed it. So I'll scrub off the paint real quick. Let it dry out. I think I'm going to try to extend the white of the eye a little bit that way. Sometimes, too, when the sculpt, it's just, sometimes you get a little bit of a weird underlying shape of the eyeball. Like, it'll have a little bend in it, or it'll be a little bit protuberant, or whatever, and it just will not take the paint really well. So I'm going to redo this one. Yes. Yeah, if you aren't making a lot of income to cover the needs expenses, right? And then that's where his other tactics come in, right? The whole getting a second job thing. Or doing things like selling painted minis. Whatever you can do to get some side income so that you can get a little bit more breathing room, right? During the days when I was at my most in debt, I did actually work 2 jobs. There was a decade of my life where I never had less than 2 jobs. Like, I looked at other people who only had to work 1 job, and I thought how lucky they were. It was that kind of thing. Yeah, this eye's going to be a pain in the butt. I had super freehand ability yesterday, but today I don't know that I do. Slayer, the thing about classes is that you're, like, it's always a snapshot. It's one moment in time for you as a painter. So you're always going to have those regrets where, like you wish you had, focused on XYZ, or you had known it earlier. But the fact is that as you progress, you're going to, like, even if you retake the class or take a similar class from somebody else, you're going to get more from it the more you learn. There is a point in your development as a mini painter where you honestly do get more out of every class you take. Probably that comes like after your beginner and when you're getting into your intermediate, where you actually understand the techniques, at least in theory, and you're just practicing. And at that point, you have the capability to make such huge strides in your painting that any class you take, any technique you focus on, you can see big returns on. So it's an exciting, I think that's the most exciting time. Some people would disagree and they'd say it's the time like between intermediate and advanced where you develop your style, which, you know, is the same thing as developing your voice as a writer. So like that'll come too, and that is exciting, but I feel like that early part where like you take a class and it like just revolutionizes what you do, I think that's, for me, I love seeing that. There we go, that's better. Yeah, cutting out extra expenses, and I did that for sure. I cut out a lot of extra expenses. That's why I hate, to this day, I hate paying for recurring plans, subscriptions. I hate them. I will always buy a program outright. Every one of my writing programs that I've needed to buy, I have bought outright, even though it was extra money to put up right at the time. All right, so I'm going to make him looking to the side here. So we've got that one eye. But yeah, when I do let my credit card get money on it, often that's when I'm traveling, because then it's just easier to have everything, all the expenses in one place. But then I feel like I can't save. Like the money that I would normally put into savings instead goes to paying down the credit card every month, and it just makes me go cringe. All right. I'm going to come back from this side. All right, and I need to touch up the cheek. Often you get a little bit of the dark or the white onto the cheek, usually the dark because you're trying to fill in the eye. That's why we keep our skin tones. That's why I do skin tones at the same time. I usually mix up my skin tones, touch up. That way I can have this tone here to clean up the bottom of that eye. There we go. Yeah, it's a good expression for him. His eyes are tiny enough that I don't want to do a catch light in them. When you've got eyes that are this small, much as the catch light really brings out the expression, you're more likely to just wipe out your pupil entirely, your pupil and iris entirely. So at that point, it's just leave the eyes as they are and just move forward. All right. Lovely. Time to do a little bit of work on the hair. But yeah, I mean, the thing with eyes more than anything in 28 millimeter is your results are gonna matter a lot depending on the actual sculpt, right? How much room you actually have is going to play a huge part in how good of an eye you can do. So don't blame yourself if you're working with eyes like this and you're like having trouble. It's brush control, it's fine motor coordination, which you just build over time as you paint miniatures, assuming you practice with it. So I'm going to work on the hair a little bit, and then we're going to mix up the leather colors. Oh, I'm running out of water in my bottle. Gonna have to mix up more Flow Improver mix after this. And as you evolve as a painter slayer, you're just gonna you're gonna see things differently too. Like you're gonna make different connections down the road than you did earlier in. It's just fun. It's a fun journey. Enjoy it. Just going to go over a little bit of the hair here. I want to get it a little bit more shiny and a little more precise. Just looking at what I've got. I have a little bit of roughness from the sculpting that I want to take off with a knife. Because, you know, even with me, your green stuff is not going to be perfect. And sometimes you just get a little bit crunchy. I think that's the only bit. Otherwise, I did an okay job on the hair here. Not great, but an okay job. Vincent, we don't usually talk like that on this stream. Sorry. We're just gonna block in some of this. A little bit higher highlights up on the hair on the top. You can stay if you like, but yeah, if you're gonna be, if that's the way you roll, man. But this is not the stream for it. Thanks. You'll probably get more entertainment out of a different stream. Us, we just chill. We just chill. Sound it out, Quindy. Thanks. Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, I'm on short sleep today, so I'm kind of amazed that I'm able to, actually able to paint those eyeballs today. Alright, so we're going to put a little bit of extra highlighting just around the part. It's not going to show, like, too much. If it was a bigger model, we'd be able to do more dramatic highlight effects on the hair here. It's also just hard when you're doing a white or silver hair. It's very difficult, like, because it all just kind of disappears into a sheet of white, especially at 28. But we can still see the strands on this side, so it's pretty good. That's okay, guys. If you haven't figured it out by now, stop giving attention and just move on. Move on. Wasn't worth dealing with. Wasn't worth paying attention to. There we go. All right, so here and now we'll just do a few extra highlights on the leather. I'm wary enough. I've been on Twitch long enough that I'm wary enough of anything that I don't recognize immediately. So I just sounded it out in my head. Makes me no fun. Alright, so we've got our saddle brown here. We're going to mix in a more golden color. If we mix in white straight into our saddle brown to make highlights, this tends to go a bit pink. So if we don't want pink Boots of Doom, we're going to mix in something that's got more yellow in it to warm it up as we mix the highlights for the saddle brown. Nope. Nope. It was not. It was just a kid trolling. I'm always willing to give those people an extra chance because he didn't directly spew nasty crap into the chat. He indirectly did it, and then he admitted that he was a jerk. So, you know, all right, whatever. But, you know, banning is also a perfectly good solution. For a woman on no sleep, I'm pretty chill today. All right, I've kind of got that Assyrian sand really kicked up. The saddle brown is not a very strong brown, and so when you add a little bit of white to it, it really pops it really pale. And I tried adding in more saddle brown, but it's still too much white. So if I want a transition color, I'm going to have to build it by putting a little bit more of my saddle down, and instead of adding white, I'm just going to add a little bit of this. Build something that's just a little more pale. And that may be why I didn't go up too high on the boot highlights here, is because I knew that it was going to go pretty pinkish. You can see that it is a pinkish brown for sure, because it's got a lot of red in it. But we'll just work with it and see what we can do. Twitch be Twitch. It's just a lot of gut upset issues lately, Twistinoma. Kind of blips with my crap that the GI doc doesn't think is Crohn's, but, you know, if it's not Crohn's, it's IBS. So I've been doing a lot of reading about IBS, and I'm about to probably try to make a couple of small dietary changes to see if they help. But, yeah, it's just been a little rough, that's all. When you've got gut crap, and it just gets worse over time. Just very slowly, though. I mean, it's still very mild for me. Still very, very mild. And it's certainly, looking at the list of foods that IBS can play off of, I definitely don't have reactions to many of them. So, but yeah, it's entering in that thing again that I had to do. I mean, and I know that keto works just fine. So all the foods that I ate on keto are probably just fine. I was already edging back toward going on low carb because I felt so bad after Thanksgiving. Well, yeah, my brush control today. That's the only thing. I'm seeing with the lack of sleep is definitely less brush control. But yeah, so sometimes that delays me in the morning, the medical crap, and just not feeling well. not like it's anything new. It's funny, in my 5-year journal, I noticed, I also said that I felt like absolute crap after last year's Thanksgiving, so I suspect too many carbs, but it could be some other stuff going on too, so we'll see. Cranberry sauce turned out great, but unfortunately, it's very sugary, so I'm likely going to have to not eat it again. I saved some for Christmas. It always turns out well. I love that it's got maple in it as a sweetener, so you can really taste the maple. It's a very good cranberry sauce, but it's just so sweet because you need so much sugar to balance the tartness of the cranberries that it just probably wasn't a great idea for me. I think the pie might have pushed it over, though. So also taking the walnut, mixing it into the saddle, and making a bit more shadows, a bit more shading, so that I can just highlight these wraps a little bit nicer. Groovy. Sorry, words, spelling hard. I wash them. I don't prime them. I wash all my white bones in hot water and a bit of dish soap. Like, I'll just pick out whatever I'm going to work on and wash them in that. I throw them into a mixing bowl, hot water, a couple drops of dish soap, sploosh them around, rinse them until water runs clear, and then I leave them to dry on a paper towel overnight. That usually will remove any mold release or anything, and you can paint directly onto the bones at that point. I don't prime them. Other people do. You could check on the Reaper forums or ask on Reaper Facebook, and people will be happy to tell you the products that they found that are safe for priming bones. I think there's an article online also that Rhonda did. But yeah, that's pretty much. And then I use a hobby knife for cleaning mold lines on them, or I'll use green stuff. I just did a video for my YouTube. If you search Painting Big, 2 words, I think, on YouTube. So it's youtube.com/@paintingbig, all one word. But I just did a thing on how to use green stuff to essentially kill mold lines as well. On bones, sometimes I find that a little easier. If it's a really nasty mold line, I can't get at it easy. Otherwise, paint them like anything else. Yeah, some sprays will make a mess. Some will off-gas. Some will never cure. So that's why you have to be careful using primer. I did have somebody report a problem with white brush-on primer on the bones, but that was only that one person, so I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, so those are the 2 things. Otherwise, you paint them like you paint anything else. Some people will prime with a mixture of brown liner, Reaper brown liner, and sealer, which will outline all the details on them, which does help sometimes. If there's a specific question you have, you can go ahead and ask. We exist on this stream to ask questions or answer questions. So just a little bit extra to bring out those details. There's some detailing on the top of his boots here too, but I'm just not gonna mess with it. It might just be weird texture because I'm not seeing it on the other side. There we go. But there's some help for you. Groovy, if you want if you have a more specific question, feel free to ask as far as working with, what you mean by working with. I haven't painted normal bones on here for a while. I've been mostly working with the Siocast, the Bones USA, because I really like the material. This guy is a Bones USA. But I am painting directly over the plastic here. I'm not priming it, so it's just my thing. Okay, let's highlight this other boot, and then I think we're done, and we just need to think about basing on him. Usually if a primer has too much water mixed into it and you try to put it over the top of plastic, which tends to be hydrophobic, it will bead up, yes. You need it to have a certain amount of surface tension to hold together. Yeah, I don't know when I'll be doing my correction to my misplaced order. Whenever Katie gets around to doing the latest batch of fixes. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to have Christmas stuff for you guys. Sadly. We shall just have to paint other stuff. And if my order eventually comes, then we'll have stuff for next year, I guess. There we go. All right. I think he looks good. Oh yeah, I was talking about doing a bit of wood grain on this, wasn't I? Let's do that. Just a little. Oh, I haven't looked at it. Maybe I'll have to go look. We should do a little review. Is it on the front page? Yes, the 12 days of Reaper. Okay, what do we got today? This is what we're getting this year, guys. Oh, the Ghost of Christmas Past is nice, and the Ghost of Christmas... Yeah. Yeah, these are all... The ghosts are all really cool. Aw, the Christmas Hugs is adorable. I've always liked that one. And the Winter Fairy. Yeah, these are good. The Penguin's adorbs. The Dwarf Krampus. Mouseling Caroler's cute. I like that. That's really nice. But yeah, these are beautiful. You did these, Julie? Bob and Julie did all the ghosts. Yeah, those are great. Really fantastic. Yeah, I want a whole Caroler set. Yep. Bob did them? Yeah, tell Bob awesome. Really nicely done. I assume that's Rhonda's paint jobs. So I'm going to take my walnut, which is what I used to do this, and I'm going to essentially mix it with a tiny bit of white to bring up, just so I can bring up some texture on the back of the shield. I want it to look like faded wood. Well, there's a cat dragon and a Christmas tree from past years, but not this year. Twisted Oma, from what I saw. They change them up. But yeah, it's a little late for me to order stuff at this point and get it and prep it and start it, and we'll only have like 3 weeks, which doesn't get anything done really. Muslings are fun. You should give it a try. Give it a try, Sir Gambit. I mean, the ReaperCon muslings are awesome, but there are a lot of good muslings. So I'm going to take some of my walnut, put some white in it, and when I do that, it makes a really pretty, warm, dark gray right there. We'll use that for starting our wood grain effect. On shields, I feel like wood grain is far better placed because you're more likely to see actual boards on the back of a shield. than you are like to see the grain on like a bow or something else, or a staff. So unless it's a really knobby staff. Where's my tiny brush? Yeah, we painted the cat. Well, we painted Cat Dragon in the tree last year. You remember Cat Dragon in the tree? There he is. And I feel like the grain kind of goes like this. I'm gonna see. Oh, holiday minis available for purchase. Got it. Just paint it like it's cloth. Ignore the texture with the fur. Sir Gambit, that's the way to do fur. Wet blending also is very useful for fur. But the easiest way to paint fur is just to ignore the texture and just paint it, highlight and shade it as if it's just a flat surface. And then if you want to pick out some of the hairs, you can. I'm going to use my... Yeah, we've done a lot of good Christmas minis. I'm going to put a line of really dark walnut on top of each of these lighter lines, just to make sure, because I see this base coat just being a little bit inconsistent. Alright, so I've got those kind of lined in now. I'm going to take that color and block in an actual board shape. You can also do this kind of thing with underpainting. Don't want to lose my lines between the boards though. You know what we need next for Cat Dragon? We need one for Kuro. We need the Cat Dragon on a small table with a miniature on it, and the Cat Dragon's going just ready to swipe the miniature off the table. We can all paint it as SSC. We can give the kitty the Cat Dragon a little Santa hat. Oh yeah, the Cat Dragon swiping cookies off a plate. Yep, yep. Small Scottish cat. Yeah, small Scottish cat dragon. SSCD, exactly, Pendrake. No, we don't. We don't really do custom colors. You can contact Reaper but you'll have to buy like a whole gallon Silver Tongue. At least we used to do that. We will do small orders of previous colors. So if it's a canceled color you're trying to reproduce, we will do that in 50 bottle batches. Am I right, guys? But yeah, it's not cost effective for us to just like let you mix a color, quote unquote, online and then produce a single bottle of it, like, or even 10 bottles of it. But you can always contact Reaper. 10 for the OOP. Yeah, so if you're trying to match a color that's out of print, you can order 10. You're paying more, but you're still, much cheaper than buying an entire gallon of paint. And I don't honestly, again, know if Reaper would work with you on that. Yeah, 10 bottle batches for $5 a bottle, yes, because it essentially is more labor cost per paint at that point to mix that color. I'm just trying to get a little bit of this texture on here so that I can accentuate it just a tad. Yeah, like I said, and that's not a custom color though, so. Yeah, if you can tell me the 3 colors, I might be able to shortcut it for you though, Silver Tongue. Like sometimes when you're mixing 3 colors, you could actually get away with just mixing 2 and get very close. No, digital paint mixer wouldn't be cost effective at all. Not with the way we run the business, because we need it to be a certain size of batch to run it through the paint machines. And if you have to hand bottle, that adds so much labor cost. That's why, $5 a bottle instead of, well, that's not too much extra these days. But yeah, if you can tell me the 3 paints, Silver Tongue, I might be able to tell you a workaround, because I know the pigments, unless it's a new color. I'm going to get some black or some, let's grab some, I'm really a fan of Corporeal Shadow lately. I'm going to grab that and do my lines between these panels a bit more. I want to be able to cool this down so it doesn't go too brown on me. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of Corporeal Shadow, which again is just a mixture of Sapphire Blue 9016 and Walnut Brown 9136. Of course, the other way to do it, if you've got 3 colors and you always have to mix them and you're annoyed at it, is just to get an empty bottle. Yeah. Like, that's almost what I would do. If you do it by drops, Silver Tongue, you could always just get an empty bottle and just do it from 3 separate bottles by drops into 1 bottle, and then you'd at least have an entire bottle of it. There's room for about 400 drops of paint in a bottle, so you could figure out how many drops of each of your colors you would need. Unless they're really thick colors, then I would go 350 just to be safe. Because if your paint is thickened, then you will squeeze out bigger drops, so it'll essentially amount to fewer drops going into the bottle. But that's probably it's time consuming for an hour, but you can do it at that point, and it would let you adjust if you were a little off. But yeah, let me know the colors and I'll see if there's any shortcuts. I need a little bit more water in that sucker. There. I think he's typing them out, Turgeon. Or they. Yeah, turf green is the weird one there. Because turf green is definitely a very complex mix. Oceanic blue is easy as pie. And pure white is obviously also very easy. you might be able... Have you tried using... I don't know what your ratio is. Okay, there it is. It's 50-50. So it's going to be pretty pale, right? A pretty pale blue. But you should know, I want you to know, Silver Tongue, that like Glacier Blue is probably going to be really close to 4 Oceanic to 4 White. Because the blues in Bones scale pretty perfectly. I was trying to make them usable as triads. So essentially Oceanic plus White is going to give you like Tropical and Tropical Glacier, and then whatever the top one is. Maybe Glacier's the top one. So you might be able to just mix Glacier Blue with your Turf Green. This is what I was talking about with shortcuts, right? You would have to compare it to see. Like I would, if you know what color for, because I don't think I've got Oceanic here in my, I keep darker colors than Oceanic typically, or I keep like Tropical, but these colors, the only real difference between them is white. So yeah, so essentially mix Glacier Blue with your Turf Green, see if you can get it. Whenever you're mixing like colors that are very pure, there's almost always a shortcut color that you could pop in there or get close with, right? And even if it's a little off, at least you can work from that. It'll only involve 2 colors instead of 3. So yeah. Yeah, and it won't work with everything, but but like I said, the Bones blues scale really well, so as far as light to dark, being very, very much the same blue throughout, the same blue pigments throughout. So yeah, give it a try and see if that works for you. Or if you want to just pre-try it, you could mix a one drop of Oceanic to 1 drop of White and see which color it's closer to. I'm betting it's going to be closer to Glacier because the White is going to impact that Oceanic so much. But whichever your 1-to-1 mix of Oceanic and White is closer to, use that with your Turf Green, and that'll give you your color. So hopefully that cuts out a step for you. Yeah. That's where pigment knowledge comes in. That's where I said. That's where I was thinking I could help. So I'm glad to potentially be useful. I hope that one of those works for you. That's my superpower, after all. Just keeping my walnut useful here, guys. 1 second. And I'm actually going to get some pure black, just a little bit, and pop it into that corporeal shadow. I want to make it dark. I want to be able to use it as the shadow there. Yeah, there we go. It's a blue-black now. Okie dokie. And I actually used blue liner for parts of the shading on this model, so using like corporeal shadow with some black gets it real close. I could have grabbed blue liner, but I've just been on a corporeal shadow kick lately. I blame Corporea. Wanted something with a little bit different color there. Just doing a little bit of a shadow around the entire thing to make this look more 3D. Because the back of the shield is flat here, so if we can put a line between the gold and the wood. It'll make it appear that it's sculpted. Just going to get some of that corporeal shadow blocked in a little bit back here because it's going to give it a cooler shadow back underneath, and that's kind of a good idea. There. All right, so that darkens down that area. I like that. Now I'll mix the new highlight with my walnut, and we can just add that in little touches to bring out a little bit more of the texture. Get my white mixed up here. I don't want it to be too light or it'll look shiny. I just want it to be enough to pick up the detail. The sculpt is, yeah, that's the sculpt Twisted Oma. It's actually sculpted, that texture is sculpted on. I missed that. Serpentine Shadow is a lot like Peacock Green. It's more of it was a phthalo. It was one of those like very pure phthalo green colors. Probably Tianzia Jade or if you have Peacock, you're okay. Serpentine was definitely like almost like a clear phthalo green though. So pretty minty. But yeah, I think you could use Tianzia Jade the same way. Maybe with, if you have Peacock Green, maybe a touch of Peacock mixed into the Tianzia. Well, you can. You just have to order it for $5 a bottle and lots of 10, Roger. Although I don't envy the new paint department person when you order Peacock Green. It was one of the most obnoxious colors to match. Because it's like 3 different bases blended together in addition to pigments. It was, I don't know what the heck was going through my head when I wanted that color, but... And then it got popular, and I had to make it all the time, and I was in a hateful place. So I just want little touches here now to fill out, to bring out the boards. All my suffering was just for you guys, huh? 'Cause seriously, worst color to mix. Because when you're mixing bases, it's just so easy to get your ratios a little bit off because it's very imprecise. Whereas the pigment wheel is very precise. But working with different combos of bases can give you better coverage, so that's why I would do it. And also sometimes more intense color depending on what I was working with. But yeah, it was a pain. For sure it was a pain. There we go. Hey, Yak Plus, thanks for the gifted subs. Awesome. It's the season of giving. I ordered my favorite handmade soap from a little new age shop in Memphis, and they're very new agey. So I got some anointing oil with my order this time that was for Christmas, but it has a great smell. It's like frankincense, myrrh, and it's got some cinnamon, clove. It's a really complex flavor, but it's really yummy smelling. I put it in my oil diffuser. We also found a really good soap shop, a really good handmade soap shop in Hawaii, actually on the North Shore when we went up there. I love soap. I cannot lie, I love soap. So there we go, guys. So we got that little bit of, and now we magically we got a little bit too much there, so I need to take that down. Probably want to use a glaze for that. But I'm going to get a little bit of extra highlighting around there first, and then I'll do a glaze to take those little bits down a little. Just got a little heavy-handed on those. Yeah, see, we almost managed to use up all of our time doing all this. Kiki, of course, is sleeping, having gotten me out of bed early. She's like, yawn, I think I'll take a nap, Mom. She found another ball at the park this morning, pulled it home and had it half destroyed before I was done cooking breakfast. There we go. So a little bit of glaze takes that down. We have just enough texture to be interesting, and it's not too bad. I'm going to actually accentuate a little bit around the edges of the boards, I think. Just like I did that shadow around there. Although I don't know. I don't know if I really want to. I do want to up here, I think. Just to make it a little bit more defined. I kind of like how the how it fades into the sides here, so I think I don't want to. I was thinking about capping it all, but I think I'll leave it with that shadow there. But that gives us just a little bit of nice texture on the shield. I actually go outside of the usual for Thanksgiving. I use herbes de Provence, which has most of the ingredients, plus lavender. And I think one other. I like my herbes de Provence. All right, I think we're good. It's just enough texture. So it's not a distraction at all, but that way you see that it's not just a blank shield. Make sure I've got everybody over here looking good. And all that. Yeah, I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. Could do a little tiny bit more highlight over here. No, turf green is a very complex color. If you switch to any other green, it's probably not going to be the same. When you get to colors like turf that have a lot of different pigments in them, there is no easy substitution. Silver tongue. So that's why it's like turf I really couldn't do anything with, but the other two were very simple, so it was easy to find a color that was a combination of those two pigments. But yeah, turf green is a pretty unique green, so it is also made by mixing like 3 different bases plus several different pigments. It's not an easy one to match. You'd be better off trying to pick like just a much simpler green to find, but you wouldn't be able to match the color you get with the turf. That's the thing, because turf has like yellow oxide in it, and it's got, you know, it's got the high density bases, and it's, you know, it's a unique beast. You're not going to be able to. You'll end up with a different color if you substitute a different green. It might only be a slight change. Yeah, if there was an easy answer to, like the only way to get turf green is like to mix even more colors together. But do you see what I'm saying, Silver Tongue, with the fact that the blue that you chose and the white are very simple pigments, so it was easy to find another paint that was a mixture of those, but there isn't a teal that would be the same as turf green with glacier blue, because turf green has too many pigments in it. I would never have used a green like that to mix a teal. So the more complicated a color is that you use, the further away from pure pigment you go to mix a color for your miniatures, the more it locks you into using those colors and never being able to just mix them more easily. So when you think about finding a mix that you like for a new army or whatever, think about that, because you're going to be able to tell if a paint is like, oh, that's a green, but it's a little muted, it's a little yellow, it's a little, you know, it's got a little bit of white in it, it's got a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. It's very far away from just a clear green pigment. The farther away from that simple green pigment you get, the more that you have to use that color in order to get the mix you want. Whereas if you had chosen something like brilliant green instead of turf green, brilliant is still a high density green, but it's a very simple high density green. Then again, you still, like, why there isn't a simpler answer there. Like, there is not one paint that will match the color that you have in mind. Not perfectly, because of the green you chose. Though if you had chosen brilliant green and you were mixing in that blue and you were mixing in the white, maybe there would have been a color that was close. I would have to look, but not with turf green. Turf green is just a weird mishmash, or kind of meant to be like a natural grass color, so it's got a little bit of a lot of different things in it. The closer you want to get to natural, usually the more like muted and mixed, the more colored pigments are mixing in. Alright, yeah, I think he turned out really well, guys. Now we just need to base him. Don't think I want to do anything else. He definitely needs to be on a more natural base, though, being a wood elf. The cobblestones ain't gonna fly. They're not even very elfy cobblestones. I need to make sure that I have more of these bases, because I go through them so much with the stream. And I thought I had a whole bunch, but because I've been using them so much, I suspect I'm getting low. I'm going to look through one of my base bags here. Most of my bases in this bag are bigger. Oh noes, I may need to order more bases. And I have the inexplicable bag of sand and gravel in my base things. Oh, hey, I found some. Alright, so I do have a couple. I'm not desperate yet, but we're getting down there, folks. We're getting down there. At least I know where they are now. Good. Okie dokie. So let's, I think I'm going to cut him off. Let's just stick on this model and cut him off. I think this is going to be wide enough for his stance. We'll probably have to give him a little bit of extra detail on his face, but he is pretty cool, so. Make sure that I've got my base trimmed up nice. Yep, looks good. And again, this is the 74048 base from Reaper. You can find it by just typing in its SKU number online. It is really good for basing standard models that have a very wide stance, like this guy. He has too wide of a stance to go easily on a smaller slot base. Take him off of his blue tack. He's been on there for a while, so it's going to take some prying. Oh, I hear Kiki moving around in the other room. You can see how long he's been on there. My blue tack has gone all stringy. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. Boop. So now we'll have to grab some of our blue tack and blob it up so that we can take the extra blue tack off the bottom. You might want to order tropical blue silver tongue, because like I said, I'm not sure which would be the better match, tropical or glacier. It would be one of those mixed into your turf green, but it's really not a big deal to have to mix two colors together repeatedly, so. All right, let me grab this. And now we will use this blob. Yeah, pretty much forbidden chewing gum. That reminds me, though, I did have a David Christmas present. I've been hoarding it. But I need to look up how I want to do it. Is it Tears of the Kingdom? That's the new Zelda game? I think so. But is it all for Switch? Because it's really up his alley. But I don't think we've got a Switch. Yeah, this is the new one. Yeah, and it's only for the Nintendo Switch. Grrr! Yeah, that's good, Silver Tongue. Just wanted to let you know, because I'm not sure off the top of my head which one will be better for your mixture. All right, let's just pull off as much of this stuff as we can, and then we'll use the big blob of blue to get everything else off. I just don't want to get it all on my clippers when I'm cutting this base off. This is very, very thready, very goopy blue stuff. I've been mixing more mounting putty in lately to get away from the goopy, stringiness that tends to develop. There we go. Now I can cut it without getting it all over my cutting tool. Well, let's see. How much does a Nintendo Switch cost? Because I don't think we have. I'll check. Oof. Yeah, not cheap. Well, $300. Alright. That makes it a very expensive Christmas present. Oh, I wouldn't want to get the low-end one, Butts. I'd want to get the one that David would actually want if he remembered about this game. This would be the most expensive present I've ever bought him if I go for it. Because I was thinking I'd just buy the game. $70 I can do. But buying the Switch to go with it. You bought one used with warranty. Refurbished? I should look for refurbished. He does play console games every once in a while, but I don't think we've got a Switch. I think we have an Xbox. I do remember that when the game first came out, I asked him if he'd played the other Zelda games. And he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, well, there's a new one. He was very interested, but it was not the right time to... he wasn't really looking for anything at the time. So I kind of filed it away in my head as this would be a good Christmas gift. So we're going to start by cutting wedges out between his feet. Bones USA is pretty durable, but if you put too much pressure, you can snap an ankle. So by slowly cutting in, we torque the base, but we don't torque it too much. And I just use the side cutters for this. Yeah, I would go for the higher end one just because that's the only thing David would really want, probably. I'm going to kind of come in behind and try to cut a wedge out right behind this foot. You can hear the snapping noise here and there. And that just shows you've got to be careful as you cut away that area. You can see the back notch there now, and I'm going to work toward cutting through. I think I'm going to take more on this side though. Yeah, I wouldn't want the bad one. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll ask Mom if she wants to go in on it with me. David's notoriously hard to buy for. I mean, the thing is, I already have 2 small presents for him. But I was feeling like I needed to do something else. Because I know he's going to get me something that's more expensive. You got Mario Kart with yours, yeah. Yeah, it's good to know, Sir Gambit, thanks. Yeah, the big Switch. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for all the advice, guys. Zelda is definitely the kind of game that David likes. David likes puzzle games. Now I've gotten to the point, I've gotten enough of this cut away that I should be able to try to get back toward the area I cut out before. So I'm going to just, again, be pretty cautious with it. I've got to cut. Good. It actually already shattered along that line. See that? So when I made my last cut, let's see if I can show it to you. Hold on. So there's actually a shatter point, a shear, where it already shattered right along the line that I was cutting toward, which is much better than it shearing off at the ankle. So that's fair, Agent Marvel. It's just that I'm like, it's always hard to buy for David, so if I can get him a game that he will really like, that will take him a while to play, that's a win for Christmas in my book. There it is. So yeah, so the plastic actually sheared along the one side. But now we have 2 platforms. And now it's much easier to cut away at these without putting pressure on the ankle. The other thing that can happen is if you twist too much, your paint can crack. I haven't had that happen, but in theory it is possible. Hi, Kiki. Do you want to... Ah! I just threw plastic. What's up, Bubba? Or are you just going to hang out over there? Hi. Oh, yes, I did take some notice of you. Do you want to come up and see? Do you want to come up and say hi? Hold on. Hold on. Let me get my leg around here. Okay. Oh, she did want to come up and say hi. There we go. Yeah, you wanted to come up and say hi, huh? Yeah. What have you got? Stuff you're not supposed to chew? Bits of other toy? Yeah, bits of other toy that you're not supposed to chew? Do I have to trade you for that? Yeah? Do I have to trade you? Oh, good girl. Hold on, I have to get a retreat now. I said trade. 1 second, 1 second. I'll be right back. Good girl. Good girl, you found me. I'm going to trade you for you. Yeah, trade. Awesome. Good girl. Okay, good girl. Like, one of Kiki's saving graces is that she has really taken the term trade to heart. And no matter what she's got in her mouth, if we say trade, she'll trade it for some freeze-dried raw treats, because she loves those freeze-dried raw treats. She loves those freeze-dried treats. Oh, now we're Nami. Now we're a very excited puppa. Oh, very excited puppa. Oh, no. Ah, attack dog. Saying woof woof. Kiki blessing applied. Yes, yes. Oh, Keeks. Oh, Keeks. Hello, the Andrian. Nice to meet ya. Hi, silly girl. She is being a silly goofus. Yeah, but you spat out that piece of toy. She ate, you guys know those dog toys that are like soccer balls but with the open spaces? Like they're just a rubber framework, like a mesh. She pretty much chewed one completely, like half of it up. So I'm finding little rubber pieces of purple. No, Bubba, no. Ah! Hold on, Bubba. So, you're right, Kiki. It is actually time to end the stream. You're right. So let's just, yes. Kiki is, she was born June 27th. So, a year and 5 months now? 17 months. Yeah, thanks, Inara. I'm glad you're feeling better. Continue to heal. So, yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so yeah. So we're going to cut away more of the base next time and maybe work on some basing ideas. I'll think about it. I'll ruminate upon it. Okay, guys? Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, Monday we'll be back to working on Ed. Monday's Ed Day. Yeah, I don't remember Crows, but yeah, she totally, she found a little one at the park, and it is now in pieces. Yeah. All right, thanks everybody for hanging out. I will be streaming tomorrow on my own channel on twitch.tv/paintingbig. Come on over. I'm not sure what I'm going to work on. I'm either going to work on that Clint Eastwood bust that is almost finished, which I have little fine detail freehand to do on, or maybe I'll work on Dragon bust, or maybe I'll work on Owlbear. I don't know. I'm going to work on somebody. It depends on my mood. I'm just going to let my mood guide it. How about that? All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.